Hey, Robert, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hello, Robert.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you here because so many people are stressed out and down about their student loans. I mean, pretty much everybody has one except Ty and I, of course. But it's something that is like a thorn in so many people's side, and this is your area of expertise, and so we're so glad to have you with us today. But before we get into all your great advice, can you just take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience so they can know what you're all about?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me today, guys. So I'm the founder of The College Investor. I actually started this site when I was in college. So I was sitting in the back row of class, and I was a little bored, and I was reading personal finance blogs, and I was like, I want to share my thoughts on investing and money and stuff because I was very passionate about it. Well, what was holding everyone back from investing turned out to be student loans. So we kind of pivoted over the last couple of years, and building wealth and investing is still a huge part of the site. But we're really trying to help people overcome those roadblocks to wealth, and the biggest one is student loans. So we've really been putting a lot of time and effort into helping people overcome student loan debt so that they can start investing and building wealth for the future.
Awesome. So you created a free guide called The Definitive Guide to Student Loan Debt. What was your motivation behind creating that?
Definitely. Well, honestly, there are a lot of great resources out there for student loan debt, but every type of loan has something different to it. So federal loans have some great information on studentloan.gov. Private loans have information scattered across the internet. And getting loans and how to pay for college is also scattered across the internet. So there wasn't a solid place to have everything that you could ever want to know. And that's what I wanted to provide with the Definitive Guide to Student Loan Debt. I wanted to teach people what it means to get a student loan and how to think smart about it before taking one out. And then I also wanted to share okay, now you have one. How do you get out of it the smart way? What are some tactics you can use for repayment? Where to find forgiveness? And what are your options? So really, I wanted to take all the awesome resources out there and just put them in one spot so that it's easy for people to make smart choices when it comes to their student loans.
Awesome. Now let's talk about repayment. There are several different options when it comes to repayment that probably most people listening don't know about all the different options out there. So can you tell us about those options and kind of what's the difference between them?
Sure. Well, there's two big buckets to think about to start with. If you have federal loans, you have a whole menu of options that you can choose from. And if you have private loans, you don't have very many options. Those are like car loans. So you're only going to have what you originally agreed upon. When it comes to those federal loans, you have your standard option, which is if you don't do anything when you graduate, you're going to be in the 10-year plan. So you got even payments over 10 years for the life of the loan. Now, if that's not working for you, you have a few different things you can choose from. You could go to an income-based plan, which it looks at your tax return or your current income, and it'll be a payment that's 10% or 15% of your discretionary income. And that can be a huge help to people that are struggling to make ends meet. Maybe they don't have that job yet after they graduate, or maybe they're in transition between jobs and they need a break today. So an income-based plan is something I recommend. If the standard plan is just not working for you, but you don't necessarily need an income plan, there's also options like graduated and extended plans, which a graduated plan starts low and gets bigger over time. The goal is, that you earn more money 10 years after graduation versus right when you graduate. And then the extended plan just extends out your repayment term over 20, 25 years. And that gives you lower payments every single month. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options out there for your loans. And that's why I wanted to put that guide together, because it can be really confusing to figure it all out.
Absolutely, that's true. So some people may not realize that there are different types of student loan repayment assistance programs out there. Can you share a little insight on that?
Yeah, so I consider student loan repayment assistance programs different from the forgiveness program. So a forgiveness program that I highly recommend, if you qualify for it, you need to be in this program, is Public Service Loan Forgiveness, PSLF. If you have a public service job, that's teaching, that is being a police officer, that is working in the government, that's being in the military. After 10 years, you can get your loans forgiven, and that is an awesome deal. But what people don't realize is that there's a lot of assistance programs out there as well. And these are programs based on industry. So if you are working as a lawyer or a doctor in certain areas, you can get $3,000, $5,000 towards your loans every single year. Some states even have cooler programs than that. There's some programs out there that if you're just an engineer in any field, you could get repayment assistance, and they'll give you about $5,000 a year. And then Kansas is my favorite. They're trying to encourage people to move to Kansas. So if you move to certain areas of Kansas, just for living in Kansas, you can get repayment assistance, which is a cool program.
Wow. Now, I'm sure that people are out there saying, okay, well, where do I look? Where do I go to find, a program that will be able to assist me?
Definitely. So inside my definitive guide to student loan debt, I have all the programs for all 50 states on a clickable map. And you can go in there, click on your state, and you can find all those programs. And we do keep it updated every year. So they do change. Sometimes the budgets run out. Sometimes states change their plans. But we really try to keep it updated with every single program by state.
Now, we're going to have a direct link to Robert's definitive guide to student loan debt inside the show notes. All you got to do is go back to hisandhermoney.com and look at the blog post attached to this interview, and you'll be able to get all this great information totally free. Robert put in a great deal of work.
Amazing.
And it is thorough, guys. This is something that you definitely want to get your hands on. Now, kind of the in vogue thing to do with student loans these days is the good old refinancing. There's so many different companies popping up, and a lot of people are headed in that direction. But you feel that refinancing is something that you should rarely do. Why do you advise people in that direction?
Well, I think refinancing serves a purpose. And the problem is that for most people, it doesn't serve the right purpose. So if you have a private student loan, refinance all day long. Try to get the best rate, the lowest fees, go for it. But if you have a federal student loan, and you cannot afford the standard 10-year repayment plan, then refinancing is not right for you. Because two things happen when you refinance. When you refinance your federal loan, you are effectively taking out a private loan to replace it. And by doing that, you lose the options to have those income-based repayment plans, and you lose any potential forgiveness that you could get. And the thing is that's a hard choice when you graduate college. Like, you see that first payment and you're looking for any option out there. But what's to say in 2 years you don't decide to go join a public service job? What's to say that, you don't need that income-based plan? So unless you are 100% fully confident in your ability to pay on the 10-year standard repayment program, then it doesn't typically make sense to refinance that federal student loan into a private student loan.
Good stuff. So how can people avoid being scammed by companies offering to help them to get rid of their student loans? I mean, we see the television shows, we see the ads popping up, even while you're on Facebook and things like that. How can people avoid being scammed?
Gosh, it kills me. The number one question that I get on my site, and I get 3 to 5 emails a day on this single topic, is I'm doing business with XYZ company and they want me to pay $800 to consolidate my student loans, or they want me to pay $40 a month for 10 years to get income-based repayment. And it kills me because if you have a federal student loan, everything we're talking about here is free. So you should never, ever, ever pay a company to do anything with your federal student loans. They're going to tell you every pitch in the book. They're going to say it's really hard to fill out this paperwork and you need to pay us. Would you pay a tax preparer? You should pay me to do it instead. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you want to sign up for income-based repayment, if you want to sign up for public service loan forgiveness, if you want to consolidate your student loans, if you know your name, your address, and your social security number, you can fill out this form and it will take you 5 minutes and it's free on studentloan.gov. And you can also download it on studentloan.gov and mail it in if you prefer to do it that way. But it is a very, very simple process. And these companies know that it's confusing, but it really is easy. If you can fill out a job application, you can do this. If you can just fill out a basic form, it's so easy to fill out. So don't be falling for these tricks. It just kills me every day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was speaking with someone about a few weeks ago, and she fell for one of these companies. And when I pulled up the company alone on the Better Business Bureau, and I saw the grading of F and all these awful reviews, I'm like, people are getting got every single day, because they're looking at the payment. They're promising you this small little payment, but it's something to it. You're paying them. And as you mentioned, if you just go to studentloan.org,
studentloans.gov, the official Department of Education website. It is legit government website.
I love that. We will make sure that we have all those links in the show notes as well.
And that's it. And this is the crazy part is you think like, I see a lot of these every day and I keep in track of my records here on like the most expensive ones I've ever seen. So last week I got the most expensive one ever and it was $3,400 that a company was trying to charge somebody to sign up for these forms. Now, it is just ridiculous. Like, if your average student loan debt is $35,000, that's 10%. If you just put that money to your debt, you'd be like 10% it's going. It kills me. And the forms are so easy, but it is confusing. And I think that's what these companies are preying on is that they try to scare you. They try to make it sound like, there's all this stuff. But if you, like I said, name, address and social security number is all it takes to fill out these forms. It's super easy.
No.
I think another issue that people struggle with, staying on this same topic, I think that, again, like I said at the top, a lot of people are stressed out about their student loans. And so when somebody swoops in to say, hey,
I can save the day.
I can cut your payment in half. All you got to do is this, that, and the other. Like, how can people kind of take the emotion out of their decision and make better rational decisions when it comes to these student loans? Because a lot of people are really, really stressed out about their student loans.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it is hard. And that's exactly what happens with every type of scam out there, right? They prey on you when you are the most stressed out, when you can't make ends meet. And it's also this culture that we have today in this country is like we're afraid of the government. We don't want to call the IRS for anything. Like we don't want to talk to the Department of Education. Like heaven forbid the student loan people are after me. And in reality, like they're here to help us. And I think it's really just call your lender. You would actually be really shocked that, they actually would want to, especially the federal lenders. They are contracted by the Department of Education and they get bonuses and incentives to keep people paying their student loans. So they're going to be there to help you. And so it's like when you're stressed out, don't go to some third party Joe Schmo company to try to help you. Go on to the actual government websites. Go on and just Google it. Like you said, go see what the Better Business Bureau says. Like before you shell out any kind of cash, and this is anything besides just loans, like just do a simple Google search, see what people are saying about this firm or this person or this company. And just do a little research. None of these decisions, you were in the same situation yesterday as you are today. So spend 5 minutes today because, it's not going to change tomorrow either. You can take a little bit of time. You can Google it. You can talk to some people. We have a lot of free tools on our sites. We have forums where you can post questions. A lot of people call out some of these companies there and, it's good to know. And just take 5 minutes. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't make a decision before 1 o'clock today.
Right. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are listening. They're probably like, oh, my gosh, I wish I would have heard this, last month before I made that switch. So there are some people out there who have probably went with a third, party company and it's not so good. What are their options at that point?
Yeah, every situation is very different and, you have to see what it is. Some of these companies, they might have charged you, but they actually might have done what they said they were going to do. And at that point in time, it might just be worth it to just take that loss, move on and make the right decisions going forward. Some of these companies promise things and it's not happening. And in those cases, you need to call them, cancel it and get back on track with your lender. The worst companies I see out there encourage you not to make payments on your loans. And those are the ones that should be a big red flag. Don't pay while we do this whole process. Never work with those companies. If you started that a month ago, you need to get back on track with your lender. You need to cancel it with this company. Most of these companies, ask for credit card payments, which that's great because you could dispute that charge if they don't cancel it. And then you can get that money back into your bank account and start making payments on your student loans.
That's some good advice.
Yes.
Now we mentioned, Ty did a quick search on Google and found out that this company was trash. But there are also some other great resources online that you recommend. So what are some of your top tools for getting out of student loan debt?
My number one top tool, and this helps most people, is just get financially organized. So the hard part with student loans is that you might have taken out about 4 or 5 by the time you're done with college, right? You took one out your freshman year, you got another one your sophomore, your junior, your senior, and you could have 4 or 5 different lenders. So getting your loans organized is key. So there's a national student loan data system that actually lists all of your federal student loans. And that's a great tool to check because we've also probably moved since college, right? Your freshman year, you probably lived in the dorms, and then you got an apartment, and then you're moving somewhere else. So how do you know they don't have your updated information? You don't want to miss a letter. You don't want to miss a payment because you just didn't keep, your lenders updated with your current address. So go online, make sure you have all your lenders, and then contact them. They have the updated information. That's number one. If you have private loans, check your credit report. So annualcreditreport.com, right? You get your free credit report once a year. That's the best way to check all your loans. So if you have private ones too, those will all be listed on your credit report with the contact information so that you can make sure you're just getting those statements and that they can contact you if needed. Beyond that, I love Mint. You guys probably know Mint. It's a great tool to just keep all your accounts in one place, and they have bill reminders, which I find to be very handy, so that you can make sure that you're staying on top of all your payments. And then finally, of course, besides my website, studentloans.gov. So when in doubt, go to the government website on student loans. They have everything there. You can log in there, and you can make all these options yourself for free on studentloans.gov. So don't feel like you have to use these third-party companies or any other resources.
This is great.
And we also highly recommend your site, thecollegeinvestor.com. So everybody be sure to head over to thecollegeinvestor.com. There's so much information there that'll help you get on or stay on track with your student
Absolutely.
loans.
So now, what's your advice to the person that is in the workforce and they're contemplating going back to school to further their career, but they currently have student loan debt? Would you advise that they go further into debt to do so, or?
Such a tough question. So, and this is going to sound maybe not the best answer, but I really encourage everyone to do a return on investment calculation when it comes to going back to school or even going to school to start with. So how much debt are you going to take out? And what's that going to give you? So I know there's some careers out there that they really put a block on things. If you don't have a master's, you cannot move forward. And I don't know if I buy it, but that's what some companies do, and a lot of higher education institutions do that. Counselors, different things. If you don't have a master's, you can't get certain jobs, and so you really just need to do that return on investment. How much is it going to cost to get that master's degree, and then what will that salary bump look like? And I don't ever recommend that you borrow more than what you're going to, for a graduate education, 5 years. So if you're not going to get repaid on that investment in 5 years, you might want to reconsider it. So if you think your salary is going to bump up by $20,000, then I think that you can borrow up to $100,000 because that's 5 years. Right? And so that could make sense if you're going to get a master's degree. But if you're not going to see a bump like that, or if you're going back to school to just continue to stay at that same rate, you really have to decide if that's worthwhile, because it might not be. And, by the time you're 30 or 40 and making these decisions, retirement's looming. And you can't get a loan to go retire. So, you can go get a loan to go school, but no one's going to help you out when it comes to, when you're 65 and can't work anymore. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. What are some good book recommendations that you would offer to our audience if they're looking to get their finances in order?
One of my favorite books, and it's a little older book, it's The Millionaire Teacher by Andrew Hallam. This is a teacher, and he was able to save up, $1 million, and he kind of shares the 7 steps that he took to do it. What I really like about it is very actionable and simple advice, and it goes a long way to just showing how average people can really build a big nest egg for themselves by making smart financial choices. There's a couple investing books out there. I don't know if that's necessarily the thing, but I do like Tony Robbins' latest book on investing. If that's something that's right up your alley. He also breaks it down very simply on how to get started investing the smart way so that you don't get scammed by another group of people that sometimes charge outrageous fees, which is financial advisors.
Good. So, there may be people listening right now that may feel a little discouraged about their student loans. And, we've heard people say, I will always be in debt because I will always have these student loans. What words of encouragement can you offer them right now? Maybe you have a success story of your own, especially in the type of field that you're in, where someone paid off a lot of debt, student loan debt, and they're living a life.
Yeah, so my story, I started with $42,000 in student loan debt when I graduated, and I paid it off in about 4 years after I graduated school. So there's 2 courses of action that I recommend that everyone take. Is one, if you can't afford your loans, get on those income-based repayment programs, and they get forgiveness after 20 or 25 years. But like you said, 20 years is a long way out there, and that can be really discouraging, but there is that light at the end of the tunnel. So if you're not satisfied with a 20-year time horizon, everyone out there has the potential to earn more money. So one of my other tenets is that, you have the potential to earn more. And I'm a firm believer, and I've talked to over 1,000 people on my site that have never been able to not earn $100 more a month. I think it's a very doable thing. You can do it online. You could go on Craigslist and go find some gigs. You can sell some stuff around your house. You can do a ton of different tools. Go out and ask your neighbors if you want them to landscape. It's not going to be the greatest work necessarily, but it's $100. That's $1,200 a year. You can easily start making huge dents in your loan payments by just taking a little bit more money every single month. I'm not telling you cut your budget. I'm telling you to earn a little more and start working towards getting that loan debt paid down even faster. So that's my biggest thing is, there's always two sides to that personal finance equation. There's earning and there's spending. So we talk about cutting our budgets. We talk about that, but you can earn $100 more a month. And I have yet to find anyone that's not able to if they put in the work.
You bring up a great point about trying to pay off your student loans as quickly as you can. And someone may have a question out there in regards to if they sign up or they do one of these, payment plans and things like that, will they be penalized if they accelerate their payments, if they try to aggressively pay it down?
Well, the income-based plans are always based on your income that you file on your tax returns, your AGI, your adjusted gross income every single year. And so that's where they get that from. So anything that changes that adjusted gross income, if it goes up, yeah, your payment will go up. But that's, the one thing with side jobs that I'm talking about is, sometimes that, your neighbor's just going to give you a couple $100 to go ahead and clear out their backyard for them, right? And that's good money that, yes, you should probably be reporting it, but, there's ways around that as well. I think on the same time is, there's ways to boost your income and do the and. So I don't believe that student loan repayment has to be an or choice where you have to pay your debt down or save for the future. So if you have a good job and you invest in your 401k, you can start saving for retirement, but that doesn't boost your adjusted gross income. That actually can lower it for you. So if you get a pay raise and you're worried about your student loan payment going up, save a little bit more in your 401k, and then you're going to be able to not see that student loan payment go up and save for your future.
So if people decide that they want to throw, let's just say, an extra $100 or $200 onto the payment, they run the risk of possibly their payment increasing if they start seeing this trend that they're throwing more money at it, or...
It's not about the trend. It's about what your adjusted gross income is. So you could also budget super well, and save a lot of money. It's always on what that adjusted gross income line is on your tax return. That's what they're going to base your IBR or pay as you earn payment on.
Wow. Great advice, Robert. We really appreciate it. Can you tell our audience more about all the resources and information that you provide over at thecollegeinvestor.com and how they can stay connected with you?
So thecollegeinvestor.com is my home base. We have our definitive guide to student loan debt on there, and it's a free tool. Check it out. We also have our student loan forums. So if you have a question, we try to be in there quite often. We have some readers in there that share their stories as well. So I highly suggest it's free as well. Stop by. You can ask a question, leave a comment. It's a great resource if you have questions about these companies or any other tactics that are involved in student loan debt.
Awesome. Robert, thanks. This was incredible.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Our audience a wealth of information, and now they're equipped to go and continue the fight to get out of debt. So we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to share all this information with our audience today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. I love being here.